Hello, you're watching James. My name's James, you're watching me, and I am talking about watches. Today I want to talk about something a little bit interesting, or at least something a little bit interesting to me. I want to talk about affordable Grail watches. And you may ask me, what is an affordable Grail watch? Well, there's been a little bit of a journey that's gone on with me and my collection, and a couple of watches that have come into that collection that has made me rethink what a Grail watch is. Because prior to getting these watches, I'd always had the idea that a Grail watch was always something that I would have to buy in the distant future, or perhaps that I wouldn't be able to afford at all. That to me was a Grail watch. But I've now changed my mind on that. I think there are three types of Grail watches, the third one being the affordable Grail watch. But let me explain to you the other two first, but then we'll start talking more about the affordable Grails because that's actually what I want to concentrate on today. Firstly, there is the Dream Grail watch. And a Dream Grail watch to me is a watch that you really like, the watch that you can think about, the watch that you can see in pictures, but it's a watch that you're never ever going to buy. And there may be a number of reasons why you can't buy it. Most likely it is going to be the price. For me, these are priced really in excess, well beyond what I'll ever be able to either afford or justify on a watch. Now, there is absolutely nothing wrong with these watches. Obviously, they are amazing watches. They are watches we can think about, look at, watch a review on, watch people talk about, but it's not something that I'm going to own, or possibly something that you are going to own. If you happen to be watching this and you are able to afford those watches, that's fantastic. Please do enjoy them. I'm sure they're fine. But they're not something that I am likely to own, not unless something dramatic changes with my finances. Secondly is just Grail watches, and that is sort of more the traditional thought of what a Grail watch is. And that's sort of what I was talking about before, except for this is a watch that you are going to buy, or at least you have the ability or potential to buy. But it is a watch that you are going to look at buying in the distant future. This is something that's sort of 10 years from now, or a big achievement in your life, or a retirement watch, or something for your 50th, or something that you have to save for long term. For me, these are watches that are always sort of considered as a Grail watch. Things like Omegas or Grand Seikos, these are the watches that I sort of comment and look at and think, wow, they're amazing. I would love to own one of them one day. And I think there is the potential for me to do so. Because in about 10 years' time, or when I'm 50, or when something happens in my life, I can probably justify that sort of money on one of those watches. Not to say that I will buy it, I'm just saying that I will be in a position that I can buy it. So that to me is a Grail watch. But now I want to talk about affordable Grail watches. And this is a watch category that I had not really even considered before, or perhaps I've made it up myself. I don't know. But it is a category that has come into my head because of three watches that I have recently bought. Three watches that have changed the way I think about watches, changed the way I think about watch collecting, and changed the way I think about what I want out of a Grail watch. Now, to talk about these watches, I am going to flip the camera over and I'm going to show you these three watches in order of my purchasing them, because they are something a little bit special, but they are actually affordable. Okay, they're not super affordable. There's still a watch that you probably might have to save up towards for a little while. They are probably a watch that maybe you have to sell a couple of watches to fund, or possibly they're just a watch that you may have to certainly consider the finances before spending it. For me, it's around about that 700 Australian dollars up to around 2,000 Australian dollars. Yes, okay, so not super affordable, but what I'm thinking is that it's achievable. And I know it's achievable because I've been buying them. And I'm not putting any extra money into my watch collection. I'm just rotating them through. I'm trying to make some good decisions along the way and make a little bit of money on watches occasionally. But I've been able to afford these watches. And if you're in my sort of financial situation, there's a good and reasonable chance that you may be able to afford at least one of these watches. So let's flip the camera around and let me show you these watches and why I think they're affordable Grails. But before I do, if you haven't clicked on that subscribe button, please do. I really appreciate it. But let's check out these watches. So there are four watches that I want to show you today. Four watches that when they arrived and when I bought them, when I started wearing them, I was so blown away with them that I really think they deserve Grail status, even though they're actually at a sort of price point that is actually justifiable or possibly affordable, or at least something that you can save up to in a relatively short period of time and afford to get onto your wrist. And let me show them to you in the order that I bought them myself. Firstly, my Longines Hydro Conquest, and I think this watch absolutely deserves this status of an affordable grail. Yes, it cost me around about 1,500 Australian dollars, which is not the cheapest watch in my collection. In fact, it's probably one of my most expensive watches in my collection. But I've worn this on wrist for almost 3 years now, and what I have to say about it is that it is incredible. The quality of it is incredible. I have put this watch side by side with so many watches that are much more expensive, and I come away thinking that this watch, the feel of it, the quality of it, the quality of the movement, and how it sits on wrist is equally as good, if not actually better. It contains a Swiss beautiful movement. It's a Longines specific movement, but I think it's a modified ETA movement. It has an extended power reserve. It has a semi-high beat movement. To get that sort of extended power reserve, they drew down the beat rate a tiny little bit. It is a thin watch to wear. The quality, the fit, the finishing, everything screams quality from this watch. I love it, and it absolutely deserves to be called an affordable grail. Next is my Hamilton Jazzmaster Traveller 2 GMT. This watch, when it arrived on my doorstep, I was so impressed by it. This watch is absolutely incredible and has quickly become my favourite watch in my collection. And I've said in the full review of this one that I actually think I like this watch better than any other watch, even the Grail watches I have in my head. And that is again because of the quality of the watch, the look of the watch, the functionality of the watch. It's made by a good, well-known Swiss manufacturer. It has an amazing, beautiful sort of thinness to it. Has the GMT functionality. I do like the jewel crowns in general. This one, when it was new, was around about $2,000. So it was even more expensive than the Longines. However, this is regularly available on the used market. I paid less than 1,000 Australian dollars, and that included the watch, and that included buying the bracelet separate, brand new, and that included buying a new Hamilton box as well because it didn't come with the box. So on the used market, under $1,000, what an incredible watch. What an incredibly well-made watch. It is so finely made, so well made. It is just impressive, and it deserves to be put into a grail status, in my mind anyway. Now, the next watch I'm going to show you is the only homage watch I'm going to show you today. And this particular watch is homaging a watch that I particularly love, but it's a watch I'm never ever going to own because firstly, it's probably unavailable, but also the price of it is well beyond what I'll ever spend on it. It is my Steinhardt Vintage Military, the Ocean One. This thing is absolutely incredible. For the price of this watch, it blows my mind how good it is. It is the cheapest watch out of these three watches, and both the quality, the fit, the finish, the movement, and the look and the feel on wrist is beyond exceptional. Absolutely deserves to be called an affordable grail. This is the second Steinhardt that is in my collection, and I think exactly the same about the first one that I bought. I think this brand is well respected, and it absolutely deserves that because they are incredible. Next is my Glycine Moon Phase, which is an outstanding watch in my collection. I love this watch. It retails for around about 1,000 Australian dollars, but I bought this brand new on sale for less than half of that. And that is outstanding value, and it's outstanding for a watch that I absolutely love. This has absolutely become one of my favorite watches in my collection. It contains a really beautiful movement inside. Obviously, it's a Swiss-made watch. It's also a unique watch. It's not a homage watch, albeit it may have some styling cues from lots of different watches, but then so does every watch, doesn't it? If you look at my Longines there, it certainly has some vibes of other watches as well. And I think these four watches give four different interesting examples of watches that are both affordable or at least achievable, but should be called grail watches. Stunning, beautiful dress watch that I wear every day. I just enjoy that as an everyday watch. Yes, a homage watch, but it's a homage of a watch that realistically the vast majority of us are not ever going to be able to buy. A Hamilton watch, which is a unique design, an interesting design that's beautifully well made, beautifully put together, and it's just a stunning watch to wear, and it excites me every time I do wear it. And my Longines, which is a really nice established brand, same as Hamilton, and it is just so well put together. Okay guys, what do you think of this video? I've actually been quite excited about making this video, and I've been thinking about it for a long time because I'm really passionate about this idea. I really do think, and I'm continuing to start to think, that there are lots of watches at a much more almost affordable price that really deserve more attention and perhaps maybe should be taking place of any ideas of Grail watches, because each of these, in my mind, as a watch wearer, as a watch enthusiast, are just as good as some of these watches that I have in my head that are Grail watches. Yes, I understand these are more sort of basic Swiss movements inside these watches, but that does not make them bad. And I certainly don't need a in-house specialized movement to enjoy a watch. Thanks for watching, guys. I really do appreciate it. I hope to see you in the next video.